To put the cartridges in the cassette, these are the components that you need. First of all, we have the capsule that holds the cassette. This is the autoloader capsule. It has a straight side and it has a round side. This is important for mounting it in the loading station. It also has a lid that you can put on so that you can move it from this station to the microscope without getting contamination inside. Just take the lid off. And there's also here a pin. This pin you move up and down. That's actually controlling the mechanism when there's a cassette in the capsule. So when the cassette is in the capsule, this pin will come up, and actually that is detected by the microscope, and then it knows that there is a cassette in the capsule. Now before you bring the capsule to the microscope and load it into the microscope, always make sure that this pin is actually freely moving. Can be that after you've loaded the sample and this is still cold, there might be some water left over in the capsule, and if you reuse the capsule and it's not completely dry yet, that water can freeze up and thereby blocking the pin, so then it won't work. Then of course we have a dewar with our samples. Our samples now have the autoloader grid box, so we now have mounted cartridges into an autoloader storage box. We of course need another dewar to pour our liquid nitrogen. We have our autoloader cassette. This is the autoloader cassette. We need a pair of standard tweezers insulated. We need our autoloader tweezers with a special tip. So these are tweezers specifically used for handling autogrids. And we have these pair of tweezers with two of these notches on the end, and these are used for handling the cassette. So when the cassette is inside of the capsule, you can also use these tweezers to get the cassette out, like so. And as you can see on the cassette, if we look on the side of the cassette, there is an indentation there. Also on the other side, there's one there. So we can actually use these tweezers to grab the cassette so that we do not have to use our hands. I'm still wearing gloves because I might be able to touch these. So then we move over to the loading station, and the loading station in the center is this metal block. This metal block has 6 cutouts where we will put our auto grid storage boxes. So these are the auto grid storage boxes, and they will go over here. So you can then move your grids from the storage box to the cassette. So the cassette itself goes in here. So you can then load your grids from the storage box into the cassette. This whole block goes into the total assembly station. So this block fits in here, and after you use it and you have to warm it up and dry it, you can take that block out. But be aware that block is in liquid nitrogen, so it's also at liquid nitrogen temperatures. So most people will take a hair dryer and first dry this block down, and then take the components out and put it in a dry stove, or wipe it down with a paper towel. Then we have covers. This is the first cover that goes here. It's a bit longer, and there is another cover that goes here, and there is a cover that goes to the top. So you can work and mount your grids in a cassette using these covers. You would then have to manipulate your grid and use your tweezers through the top. So we will not be using that in these videos because we need the cameras to clearly show that, but this is how you can work for a longer period of time while still keeping the contamination rate very low. And finally we have this handle, and this handle grabs the cassette. So the handle will go in here at the end, and this is used for manipulating the cassette. Now let's take a closer look at the handle. And the handle has a button here, and this button actually manipulates this arm, and this arm has a small notch, and this notch grabs the cassette. So there is a pin here. So if I take the cassette over here, you can see that the cassette has a hole, and there is here another pin. So the pin of this handle goes into that centering hole, and then you see the arm slides over the cassette. So when we press this button here, that arm will grab the cassette tightly. So always make sure that you really firmly press that so that the cassette is well grabbed. And then on top of the arm there is a protective shield that shields your grids from contamination. And to handle the cassette in the loading station, you need to take away all the covers, and basically the cassette sits in the center block. So you slide the handle over, and you then you clamp the cassette here. Don't lift the cassette out, of course. You need to stay below here in liquid nitrogen, and you can then move it over and through the hole into, it comes out here into the capsule. So the capsule will be located here. So you're actually bringing the cassette into the capsule. You then release the finger and then slide off the handle, and then the cassette will stay in the capsule. And you can then unlock the capsule and take it to the microscope.